Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamani Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Ramannasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu Me Bho Rama Mamuddhara. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram. Om Apyayantu Mamangani Vak Pranaschakshushrotramatho Balamindriyani Cha Sarvani Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Ma Brahma Nirakarot Anirakaranamastvanirakaranam Me Astu Tadatmani Nirateya Upanishatsu Dharmaha Te Mayi Santu Te Mayi Santu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Kene Shitam Patati Preshitam Manaha Kena Pranaf Prathamaf Praiti Yuktaha Kene Shitam Vachamimam Vadanti Chakshushrootram Kaudevo Yunakti Shrotrasya Shrotram Manaso Manoyate Vacho Havacham Sa Upranasya Pranaha Chakshushashchakshurati Muchyadhiraha Pretyasmaloka Damruta Bhavanti Natatra Chakshur Gacchati Navagacchati No Manaha Na Vidmaha Na Vijanimaha Yathaitadanushishyaat Anyadeva Tadvidita Datho Avidita Dadhi Iti Shushruma Purvesham Yenastadvyacha Chakshire Yadvacha Nabhyuditam Yena Vagabhyudyate Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. We had seen until the fourth mantra of Kenopanishad. Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, in one place, while defining the meaning of the word Upanishad, Bhagwan says, Upanishad Shabdena Vidya Uchyate. By the word Upanishad, what we really mean is the knowledge that we carry with us, which has come from these Upanishads. That is the true meaning of Upanishad. It just reminds us that after studying whichever Upanishad, after studying whichever mantra from different Upanishads, one should go back and just recap the key ideas over and over again, because it is said whatever we repeat, we remember. And whatever we remember, only that knowledge is helpful to us. Right? If I know a lot of things, but when I need it, I don't remember any of those things. So it is as good as not knowing that thing. Right? Somebody goes to an exam with a lot of preparation, everything is done. But right when you need it, we don't remember what we have studied. Right? So whatever that we have studied is not going to help us much. So the key ideas that we will see. So mantra number 1 was the question by the student. Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha. So Bhagwan went on to elaborate just the first word Keneshitam in the introductory bhashya. That who will have such a question? What are the qualities of a student? And in particular, there were two words that we focused upon. One was Ishitam, another is Preshitam. We focused meaning Bhagwan only wrote in Bhashya. He said Ishitam means the student is asking about what is the nature of this prompter. Prompted by whom this entire assemblage functions. He says, I just don't want yes or no type of answer. I want to know the precise nature in detail of this Atma. So that was the word Ishitam. And the word Preshitam meant, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji wrote in Bhashya, that is this prompter, is this Atman part of assemblage or is it different from assemblage? Okay, this was the implied meaning of using these two words, Ishitam and Preshitam. So if this is there in the question of the student, we should see whether the Upanishad answers these two questions or not. Elaboration about nature of Atman, is that given? And second point, is there a perspective or clarity given about whether Atma is part of this assemblage or is it different from it? Implications are great. If we appreciate the depth of this word, Preshitam, Atma is what is my real nature. Consciousness is my real nature. The question this would turn out to be is, am I part of this assemblage or am I different from this assemblage? If you put that I to Atma, I is referring to consciousness. So instead of saying, is Atma part of assemblage or Atma is different from assemblage, the question would become, am I part of assemblage or am I different from assemblage? Because right now, I feel I am thoroughly part of this assemblage. I feel this body am I, this body is me, this mind is me, sense organs are me. So to remove this notion is the main purpose of Vedanta. Remove this erroneous notion that I am part of this assemblage. One who is able to accomplish that, next mantra will say, that person is liberated. Atimuccha dhiraha pretya asmat lokat amrutaha bhavanti. Then we saw several examples about how is this prompting done. Not like somebody instructing a person to go and do something. Atma is just there, and in its presence, all other promptings happen. Sentiency or consciousness is nature of Atma. So whatever is there in the proximity, whatever is able to reflect that consciousness, it gets reflected there without Atma doing anything. It is just like if there is a mirror and there is a sun. So sun will get reflected in that mirror without the sun wanting to do anything. So in the same way, Atma gets reflected, consciousness gets reflected in this mind, and as though prompts it to do all its functions. All sense organs, everything gets prompted by Atma. Okay, the example was of that chakora bird, whose eye color changes based upon whether there is poison in the food or not, without it doing anything. King gets prompted without the bird doing anything. So that bird is in the place of Atma. Examples are just to match similarities. Then came second mantra, where the teacher started answering what is the nature of Atma. If you look at the question, the student is asking a very direct question, right? Kene shitam patati preshitam manaha. So answer would have been Atmana ishitam patati preshitam manaha. That prompted by Atman, prompted by Brahma, all these sense organs, mind, everything goes on to do its own function. But the teacher does not answer that way. Instead of saying Atma is the prompter, teacher says Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manaso Manaha, and so on. So there the student raised a question and said, why can't the teacher directly point out this is Atma? So Bhagwan Shankaracharya said, you can point out a thing as an object only through certain means. And one of the way of pointing out is through its action. Right? If that object has some action of its own, then you can point out that object through the action. But over here, Atma doesn't have any action of its own. So whatever is the action of its conditioning, through that Atma is indicated. So conditioning is Shrotrendriya, ear. And what is happening, action is seen in the ear, the action of listening to something. So through the action of its conditioning, Atma is indicated as Shrotrasya Shrotram. It is the ear of the ear. Means a student should not go somewhere or think about Atma as something different from himself. If it was said as Atma is the prompter, he would have started looking for Atma. Where will I find it? How will I get it? And he will leave no stone unturned to search for Atma outside. Even after studying Kenopanishad, sometimes we will still end up searching outside. That is why this knowledge is said to be subtlest, of the knowledge. Sometimes we feel, why is this repetition done? This is, in spite of repeating, still we are doing the same thing. So why not even just go ahead and repeat it, so that this message gets more firm in our understanding. There were very precise logic, precise reasons that were used, where Bhagwan said, the very word Shrotrasya Shrotram means that Atma is different from conditionings. Samhatanam pararthatvat. Because whenever there is a assemblage or a conditioning, it always functions for somebody different from it. So if I am doing so much of karma, having so many sense organs, mind, everything as this assemblage, it doesn't have its own purpose. It always will function for somebody different from this assemblage, which is Atma. Example was given of a house. House is an assemblage. It doesn't have its own purpose. It functions for somebody different from it, who is a sentient being. So in that way, this is an example. This is not what Vedanta wants to say. Through the example, what is pointed out is this assemblage of body, mind, and intellect functions for that Atma Chaitanya, which is different from it. And the last part of this mantra, Atimuchya dhiraha pretyasmat lokat amrutaha bhavanti. We saw the concept of Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. These are very important ideas because we never start studying Vedanta to know Satchit. What is Sat Swarupa, what is Chit Swarupa. We start studying Vedanta for Ananda. Something we felt was lacking in life. And spirituality promised us that it will fill up that void. When that was the main purpose, time and again we should keep looking in this mirror of Vedanta. Have I found what I was looking for? Means what I was looking for was Ananda. So have I found that absolute Ananda which I started looking for? One who has found it while living itself is called a Jivan Mukta. And this conditioning of body, mind, which will give some or the other experience, that experience also will stop with Videha Mukti. Jivan Mukti, experience is there, but sorrow coming from that experience is removed through knowledge, through sadhana. Whatever we saw in Sthita Prajna Lakshana in Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, all of that is for Jivan Mukti. And as sadhakas, we should not feel that Jivan Mukti is only for few people. Otherwise, what is the purpose of studying Vedanta? So our Mahatmas say, Jivan Mukti is for us only. One need not declare and say or anything, but we should be on the right path and time and again look at, if I have not found it, where do I need to make adjustments in my life? Right? Both sides we should be cognizant about. Third mantra, Natatra Chakshur Gacchati, Navag Gacchati. That mantra spoke about what is the means, what is the pramana to attain this knowledge. Brahman is not something which can be seen through eyes and so on. Means Pratyaksha Pramana cannot reveal it. Anumana cannot reveal it. Only Pramana which can reveal it is Vaidika Shabda Pramana. Why can't eyes reveal? This was a very important hetu, reason given. Same thing cannot become subject and the object. Today also we will see that, but this part is an important one. Ramaha Gruham Gacchati, a valid statement. Ramaha Ramam Gacchati, not valid. Why? Because subject and object are the same. Rama is the subject, and where he is going to is Rama. So we cannot make that statement. In the same way, Brahman cannot become object of that which it is illumining. Eyes are revealed because of Brahman, so eyes cannot reveal Brahman. Mind is revealed by Brahman, mind is illumined by Brahman, so this mind cannot know Brahman as an object. And then we saw another concept of Shabda Pravritti Nimittani. What are those things which words can reveal? Okay, the 5 things we saw: Guna, Kriya, Jati, Sambandha, Rudhi. I will not go into details, but all of you have the slides. More we keep revising this, it will become part of our vocabulary. And we will benefit a lot if it becomes natural in our vocabulary. We become familiar with these terms. And mantra 3 also had Mahavakya in it. Anya deva tad viditat, atho aviditat adhi. So how is this teaching revealed if it is not revealed through eyes, mind, sense organs? This teaching is revealed through negation. Negate everything which belongs to gross world and subtle world. Right? Body is gross, mind is subtle. Whatever happens at microcosm happens in the macrocosm also. So just like I have physical body, there is this physical world. So negate that, means mentally withdraw attention from that. Negate avidya upadhi also. Negate primordial ignorance, maya upadhi. What remains after negating both of them, that is Brahma. Major problem or major challenge we will come across is in distancing ourselves from mind, from thoughts. If one is able to do that, then next part is not difficult. So Bhagavan said this statement, Anya Deva Tad Viditat Atho Aviditat Adhi, meant that nature of Atman is aheyam. It cannot be given up because it is my own true nature. And anupadeyam, it need not be taken up also because it was never different from me. Okay. And Bhagavan also said, only when we have to do some karma, then we have to take on some conditioning. But as Atma, I am ever complete. And the last mantra which we saw was about recognizing the truth as unconditioned. So today's meditation session also, we took Upadesha Sara, Bhagavan Raman Maharshiji's guidance. One part is to meditate upon Saguna form of Bhagavan. And another part is to know Bhagavan's true nature as unconditioned. Okay, so that is the main part of this mantra. Yad vacha anabhyuditam yena vag abhyudyate tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Okay, so more we will see today. So I will not elaborate more on mantra number 4 as of now. Okay, so let us continue. Yan manasa na manute yena hurmano matam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. The next set of mantras have a similar style, what we saw in the previous mantra. The beauty of this is, although the purpose of this mantra is to say you are not the mind, Bhagavan will describe very precise indicators of the mind. So, in the pursuit of negating the mind, we will also get to understand this mind in a more deeper way. Because when the Upasana was pointed out, that meditate upon speech as Brahman, meditate upon mind as Brahman, the student should first know what is this support that I'm taking for Upasana. Right? If mind is the support, so he should know what is the mind first. Then only he can meditate upon mind as Brahman. And whenever these supports are taken, these supports will have some similarity with Brahma. Just like if somebody takes Akasha, space as Brahma, to meditate upon Akasha as Brahma. So what is the similarity between space and Brahman? We say space is all pervading, just like Brahman is all pervading. They are not exactly same. There are differences. But through this Upasana, we are trying to appreciate nature of Brahma. But most importantly, it will make our mind come out of this, limited shackles. Right? Mind, otherwise we feel, is something which is tiny little thing which is trapped in this physical body. We say no, mind is not, small tiny little thing inside. Not to mix up brain with the mind. Mind is all pervading. Okay. So like this, there will be similarities that also we can appreciate. Okay, so what does this mantra say? Literal meaning is Yan manasanu manute. Brahman is that which cannot be thought of by the mind. Yena ahuhu manomatam. But that because of which mind becomes illumined, mind becomes known, that alone is Brahma. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. So the previous instruction might have been meditate upon mind as Brahma. In Chandogya Upanishad, this instruction is given. Naradji comes to Sanat Kumaras, and Sanat Kumaras advise Naradji. They say, meditate upon this speech as Brahman, meditate upon mind as Brahman, and then several upasanas are pointed out. Okay, so let us see the Bhashya now. This is on page number 54 of Gita Press. Yan manasana manute, mana ityantah karanam, buddhi manaso rekatvena gruhyate, manute anena iti manah, sarva karana sadharanam, sarva vishaya vyapakatvat, kamah sankalpah vichikitsa, shraddha, dhrutirah, hri, dhir, ityetate, sarvam mana eva, iti shrutehe, kamadivrittimat manah, tena manasa yat, chaitanya jyotihi manaso avabhasakam, na manute, na sankalpayati, napi nischinoti lokah, manaso avabhasakatvena, niyantrutattvat. So first part of the mantra said, yan manasana manute. So what is this mind? Bhagwan Shankaracharya doesn't want to leave it ambiguous. So he starts first by defining this mind. First he says, mana iti antakaranam. Buddhi manasoho ekatvena gruhyate. Over here in this mantra, the word manaha means antakarana. Antakarana, primarily we take buddhi and manaha. Although there are 4 parts. Mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. So he says everything combined is being taken as manaha. Okay, so we should not feel that Brahman is not illumined by mind, but it could be illumined by buddhi, or it could be known by ahankara. Says no. Mana Shabda refers to entire antahkarana. Inner instrument, that is the meaning of the word antahkarana. Then he starts defining what is mind. Manute anena iti. That by which we think, that is called as mind. Now first definition is very simple. But later he will go deeper in it. Somebody asked Puja Guruji this question, what is mind? Guruji's style was so beautiful of answering, very simple, but it hits home the message. He told that devotee, add 7 plus 2. The devotee must have wondered, Guruji, I am asking what is mind, you are telling me to add 7 plus 2. He said, no, you add. 7 plus 2 is 9. That place where you added these 2 numbers, he says that is mind. Whatever vrittis are there, whatever thoughts are there, that with which we think, manute anena iti manaha. Very simple definition. This looks simple, but we realize a lot of even modern science, for that matter, doesn't accept mind as something to be subtle. They think mind to be brain only most of the times. So we cannot just dismiss this first one. Although it looks very simple, not everybody agrees that there is some entity in us which is subtle, which is thinking. Manute anena iti manaha. Second definition, manaha sarva karana sadharanam. Mind is that which is the common instrument in every experience. If eyes are seeing, eyes can see only when mind is there behind it. Ears are hearing, it can do that only when mind is there behind it. So that is the second definition of mind, that which is the common instrument in all experiences, that is mind. Now you see the similarity between mind and Brahma. Brahman is also the common factor behind all experiences. Mind also is common factor behind all experiences. When such similarities are there, then upasana is possible. You can say, meditate upon this mind as Brahma. Like in Mandukya, it is said, meditate upon Omkara as Brahma. So Om has 4 parts, A, U, Ma, and the silence, Aswara. Brahman also is presented in 4 parts. Vishwa, Taijasa, Prajna, and Turiya. Okay, so 4 parts are mapped onto the substratum, and according to that mapping, upasana can be done. Okay, so this is a little more deeper perspective of this mind, that which is a common instrument. Now, if you have studied Tattva Bodha, all dots should connect. If you remember, in Tattva Bodha it was said, mind is formed out of the sattvic aspect of all 5 elements, not a particular element. Space, air, fire, water, earth. The sattvic aspect of all 5 elements forms this mind. That is why it is able to take information from all sense organs, because it has all 5 elements in its composition. Other sense organs will take only a particular input. Ears cannot smell no matter how hard they try. Eyes cannot hear anything, because eyes are formed only from sattvic aspect of a particular element. Right? Eyes are formed from fire element, so it can see only rupa. It cannot smell anything, because smell belongs to earth element. But mind, on the other hand, because it has all 5 elements, it can know all 5 sense objects. Okay, that is why this word is used, manaha sarva karana sadharanam. Next definition of mind is sarva vishaya vyapakatvat. Mind pervades every object. This is a very, very deep word. Next slide, we will see more into this. This world is known to me only when it becomes a thought. Vishaya is known to me only when vritti takes the form of that Vishaya. Vritti means a thought. When thought becomes of the form of an object, only then do I know that object. That is why Bauddha Darshana Acharyas say, are you interacting with the world, or are we interacting with thoughts? It's a very strong shift in our thinking, even if we can appreciate it intellectually, if not fully yet, we say, are we interacting with thoughts or are we interacting with the world? Strong conviction of Bauddha Darshana is, this world is nothing but thoughts. Oh, but I see this world outside. There is distance involved, there is nearness, there is farness. Vedanta and even Bauddha Darshana Acharyas would say, even the notion of nearness and farness is a thought. Just like in dream, we also see objects to be far, we see them to be near. In the same way, waking world also, nearness and farness is a thought. Meaning what they should do is, it is not for some intellectual thrill to say that world is nothing but thoughts. Whatever insistence we have in this world, that should become mellower with this understanding. What I think to be so real, and I have gotten so insistent, so attached to something, that actually is nothing outside, it is just a thought. Okay, it's a very powerful sadhana. It brings about a lot of depth in our Vedantic conviction. Now you see what is happening, right? Over here in this mantra, we want to say, Brahman cannot be revealed by this mind. But in and through that, we are getting to appreciate what is this mind. That with which we think, first definition. Second is common instrument in all experience. And third is that which pervades all objects. Now, mind pervades objects and Brahman pervades the mind. Okay, that is the connection over here. Upasana was meditate upon mind as Brahman, but over here it is know that Brahman is that which is pervading the mind. So these are all side benefits to know the nature of mind. In military, they do this lot of research, right? Military applications, lot of research is done. But other common people benefit from their research. Although the main purpose of their research might be their own immediate military application, but we all benefit from it. Recently, somebody was telling me there were some discoveries, like duct tape, even the walkie-talkie. All of that has come from military. Means it was used for something else, but we are using it today. Internet, for that matter, that also is military application, discovered in the military, but everybody else can benefit. So here also Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji wants to tell us Brahman is that which cannot be revealed by the mind, but look at how many details he is giving of this mind. And whatever you see in Prakarana Granthas about mind has come from here only. Because Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji is, the strongest link in our Guru Parampara chain. So from these bhashya only, lot of sadhanas are derived. Now you see another beautiful definition of mind. It says, what is mind? Mind is that which is having this flow of thoughts. One thought cannot be called as mind, or one thought is not called as mind. Mind is nothing but flow of thoughts. What are the thoughts? Kamaha, desire. Sankalpaha, resolve to do something. Vichikitsa, no doubt, question about something. Shraddha, ashraddha, conviction or lack of conviction, lack of faith, both of them. Dhrutihi, fortitude. Adhrutihi, giving up very easily. Hrihi means modesty. Lajja, that is called as Hrihi. Dhihi means conviction. Bhihi means fear. Flow of these kind of thoughts, sarvam mana eva. That is called mind. Now there is a lot of depth in this one Upanishad mantra. What it says is, just like flow of water is called a river, if water dries up, you cannot even call it as a river. In the same way, flow of thoughts itself is called the mind. And one should not have erroneous expectation that this mind will somehow or the other disappear one day. After liberation or after Tattvajnanam, this mind will suddenly evaporate, and all the impurities and whatever thing is bothering in my mind, that will suddenly go away. So Vedanta says, first thing we should drop in terms of erroneous expectation is that this mind will somehow or the other disappear. We say mind is not going anywhere. Thoughts are not going anywhere. Only option we have is what kind of thoughts we want to keep. Whether we want Shraddha or Ashraddha, that choice we have. Whether we want Dhruti or Adhruti, fortitude or lack of fortitude, that thought, that choice we have. But we don't have choice about whether we want thoughts or we want no thoughts. It might look very musical, to say that, oh, I want a mind with no thoughts. We say you are contradicting yourself in that statement. Why? Because mind itself is thoughts. You cannot have a mind with no thoughts. Right? No thoughts means no mind itself. Every sadhana we discuss should be something that we can walk and try it for ourselves. For a short period of time, we might be able to stop these thoughts, but it cannot happen that we stop it forever. Unless somebody is a great yogi, Mahatma, they go into samadhi for several years. But we should talk about that sadhana which we can do. So what is the choice over here? Patanjali Maharshi says, make two categories in our thoughts. One is called as klishta vritti. Klishta means that which will give me klesha, that which will bring agitation in the long run, that which will not allow me to do my sadhana, that is called as klishta vritti. So they will come from the same category. So kama, you will put it under klishta vritti. Ashraddha, adhruti, bhayaha, so that you will put it under klishta vritti. And another is aklishta vritti. Whatever good thoughts we have, that will fall under this category. Thought of Shraddha, thought of Dhruti. Right? All those are aklishta vritti. Now somebody might ask, it is good to make this category. What I find most of the times is aklishta vritti is high. How do I go to, or klishta vritti is high, those vrittis which bother us, that is high. How do I make this transition to go to aklishta vritti? The only way to make this transition is by wearing the identity of a sadhaka, of a devotee. Sadhaka, devotee are not two different people. Devotee and sadhaka are the same. So if that identity I strengthen, Patanjali Maharshi says, when aklishta or klishta vrittis come, right, those thoughts come which are bothering, sadhaka will be able to stay away from them, and staying away itself is a practice. He says abhyasa should be done, and vairagya also should be there. Means I should not endorse such thoughts, seeing limitations in those thoughts and pulling myself back from them. With this practice and vairagya, nirodha of mind can happen. Nirodha means what? Mellowing down of the mind. Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tan nirodha. This is the sutra. So that, he says, is possible with this. Okay. So I hope all of you are appreciating the depth of this bhashya. One small quotation is there, but it has a lot of sadhana pointers in it to understand our own mind. That mind which has aklishta vritti, beautiful thoughts, is as good as no mind. In Amrita Bindu Upanishad, we saw this point. One should put forth effort to withdraw this mind. Why? Because one who has a beautiful mind, that person is one step before liberation. Mukti is, he is almost liberated. That is how Amrita Bindu Upanishad said. But in what way? That mind doesn't bother too much. Okay, so that is this definition of the mind. Tena manasa yat chaitanya jyotihi manasaha avabhasakam na manute na sankalpayati na api nishchinoti lokaha. By this mind, Brahman is that which cannot be thought about, which cannot be known through this mind. Why? Because it is the illuminator of this mind. As the illuminator, it is the controller. Okay, this is an important word. Manasaha avabhasakatvena niyantrutvat. So Atman doesn't control the mind by telling it what to do, telling it, what not to do. It just gives it its existence. Existence of mind is borrowed from Atma, and it illumines this mind. In that way, Atma is Niyanta. Otherwise, you might have the question, if mind does something good, does Atma get the credit? We say, no, Atma doesn't get the credit. Mind only gets the credit. If mind doesn't do something good, does something bad, does Atma get the blame for it? We say, no. Mind alone will get the blame for it. That is why Gurudev used to give the example of gas in the car. He says, Atman is like the gas and mind is the driver. It can take you to your destination or it can take you somewhere else. So both of it belongs to the mind. But the driver cannot do anything, the steering cannot do anything unless gas is there. Okay. Now, few more indicators about why this mind cannot illumine Brahman. Sarva Vishayam Prati Pratyage Veti, Sarva Vishayam Prati Pratyage Veti, Swatmani na pravartate antah karanam, Swatmani na pravartate antah karanam, Antasthe nahi, Chaitanya Jyotisha avabhasitasya, Chaitanya Jyotisha avabhasitasya, Manasaha mananasamarthyam, Manasaha mananasamarthyam, Tena savrittikam manaha, Tena savrittikam manaha, Yena brahmana matam, Yena brahmana matam, Vishayikrutam vyaptam, Ahuhu kathayanti brahmavidah, Ahuhu kathayanti brahmavidah, Tasmat tadeva manasaha atmanam, Tasmat tadeva manasaha atmanam, Pratyakchetayitaram, Brahma Vidhi, Nedam ityadi purvavate, This hetu we have seen before. Hetu means a reason. Swatmani kriya abhavat. Same thing cannot have kriya in its own self. What we saw earlier in the class, Ramaha Ramam gacchati. That cannot be the statement. So Atma is a substratum, it is innermost entity, innermost than this mind also. So how can this mind have any kind of gati? How can this mind go and reveal Brahma? Sarva vishayam prati pratyag eva iti swatmani na pravartate antakaranam. Because Atman is the innermost, this antakarana is actually outside of this Atma. Outside, inside are also limitations of language. But it hits home the point. Generally, what we feel is mind is innermost. Mind is inner to this body, which is true. But Atman is innermost, even inner than this mind. Right? So whenever we say Drushya Prapancha doesn't start from things outside. This laptop, this book, and this mountains and rivers. Drushya Prapancha starts from mind. Why? Because it is Drushya of Atma. And somebody who has quietened this mind thinks about Vedantic knowledge, that person can see this mind as an object. Just like how clearly we see this mic, this laptop as an object, thought also is seen as an object. Antasthena hi Chaitanya Jyotisha avabhasitasya manasaha manana samarthyam. Illumined by this Atma alone, mind has the ability to think. If Atma is not reflected in this mind cannot think anything. Now comes the important statement. Bauddha Darshana, if you want to understand, why Bauddha Darshana? Vedanta Darshana also. This is a very important statement. Tena savrittikam manaha. Mind is that which is along with thoughts, or thoughts itself are called the mind. Thoughts themselves are called the mind. Yena brahmana matam vishayikrutam vyaptam. That by which, or that whom Brahman pervades. Brahmana matam means mind becomes an object of Brahma. Brahmana vishayikrutam vyaptam. Brahman pervades this mind, and this mind pervades the world. In Praman Vichara, when we discussed Pratyaksha Pramana, if you remember, this is how we had discussed. Right? How are we able to perceive this world? We say there is something called as pure consciousness. Why something called as? By this time, we should not say there is something called as. It is our own true nature. I am that pure consciousness. That consciousness reflects in this mind. And again, don't go by graphics and representation. It is only to show, illustrate. Okay, in this mind, this consciousness is reflected. And that reflected consciousness and this vritti, the thought, pervades objects. Now, first stage, when we study Vedanta, right, this is how it will be presented. Okay, there is world outside, and mind is there, or this thought is there, which goes and pervades that object outside. Now, we also imagine, there is a thought which is going slowly, pervading that object. Fully, it is pervading like a rope, and then finally it comes back and creates a thought inside. In the beginning, we don't want people to get overwhelmed right on the first day. But eventually, what Vedanta wants to say is, boil down this world to thoughts. Don't have this notion that there is a world appearing outside, or there is a world existing outside, and this mind is going and pervading it in that way. So, world is known only when it becomes a thought. There is no logic to show that world is outside. In fact, there is no example also to show that world is outside. You say this chair is outside, computer is outside. No. That is what you have to prove. So you cannot take the same thing as an example. Then what example do you have to show that what is appearing as though outside is not outside? We say we have dream example. That is why several Vedantic principles will be explained through dream example, where a thing appears to be outside. Distance is there, space is there, solid objects are there. But we say none of it was outside, everything was mind only. In dream. So in Vedanta, what do we want to say? That what we say as this mind and objects, first boil down objects to thoughts and also understand that all of it is appearing in consciousness. Why did this thing disappear? Because in that consciousness, nothing can actually exist. Means with the same degree of reality. In that consciousness, nothing can be there which is appearing with the same degree of reality. Nature of consciousness is non-dual. That is why, if at all something is seen there, it is only an appearance, it is mithya. Okay. Two-step process. One is put forth effort to at least appreciate with Shraddha. That world is not outside, it is appearing as thoughts. And those thoughts are appearing in consciousness, where it cannot exist as a real entity. Okay, real, unreal can coexist, but two real entities cannot coexist. So you might say, oh, all these things you are only making up. Do you have any concrete example to prove the point that you just showed or you just discussed over here? So all of this has been said in Dakshinamurti Stotram. You'll see how ideas resonate. Bhagwan Shankaracharya says this world is like a city seen in a mirror. What a beautiful example to show that something is seen in a place where it cannot appear. Okay, so he says, Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam. What is this world? It is like this, image which is seen in that mirror. It is not possible that all these things are there, but still it is seen there. Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantargatam. O Sadhaka, Bhagwan Shankaracharya is telling us, you are not seeing this world outside, or this world doesn't appear outside. This world appears in Atma. That Atma I am, so I can confidently say this world appears in me. Pashyan Atmani Mayaya Bahirivod Bhutam Yatha Nitraya. But because of this Maya, it always does something which is very inexplicable. We cannot say how it is happening this way. That is why it is called as Maya. What cannot appear outside, that as though appears outside. Pashyan Atmani Mayaya Bahirivod Bhutam Yatha Nidraya. Just like in dream. What is not different, what is not outside, appears to be outside. Okay. So those two verses, those two lines are sufficient. But more we appreciate these ideas, more we will enjoy Bhashya also. Even if we take it on the strength of Shraddha for now. But if Bhagwan Shankaracharya is saying, Nijantargatam, right? World is not appearing outside, it is appearing inside. I can appreciate that idea and start walking in that direction. Again, the main purpose is to let go of any kind of bothering thoughts. Insistence of things in the outside world, that should go away with this understanding. All sambandhas are in their own place. Vyavahara is also in its own place. Okay, tasmat tadeva manasaha atmanam pratyak chaitayitaram brahma vidyai. Therefore, O sadhaka, know that Atma alone to be Brahma. Not this mind, because mind is illumined by Brahman. Mind becomes an object of Brahman. That Brahman alone is infinite. Okay. So now different other sense organs will be taken. Eyes will be taken, ears will be taken, and pranas will be taken. And same method will be used. They will be defined very precisely first. In and through that, we will get a lot of insights about that particular description of that entity. But the main teaching is, I am different from that. Okay. Today, we will not have our 11 o'clock class. So we'll have only one class on Saturdays in the morning. Tomorrow, we will meet for Bhagavad Gita class at 11 o'clock. The details about Vedanta Sara and how to get the books, everything has been uploaded on our website. And also you would have received an email about how to get the book. So please do get your copy before the class. Tuesday and Thursday mornings, we will study Vedanta Sara, a very good parallel to the Upanishads that we are studying. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om everyone. Stay safe and see you all soon.